In today's video, I thought I would demonstrate front shimming a lock, in this case front shimming a padlock. Now what you will need a cheap padlock. If it's got these unusual markings there, I don't know if you can make out what that says, but these ones are particularly good for doing front shimming. It doesn't work on all locks. So we've got our cheap padlock, we've got a key, we don't even need the key. We're going to need a shim, so you can get these from lock supplies. You can make them sometimes out of pop cans or something like that. So we've got our shim there. We've got a turning tool. You can use anything. I'm just going to use this turning tool. And we need something to lift the pins. In this case, I'm going to use this Jimmy Long's pick. So what is front shimming? How does it work? Now firstly, if we just look at how a padlock works, we've got a set of pin stacks in there and we've got 2 pins. There's a gap between each pin. In order for the lock to open, we've got to align that gap there with the top of the plug, and we can see when it turns there, we're able to separate the bottom key pins from the top driver pins. Once they're separated, the lock is open. Now of course, when we use a key, we raise them all up to that level in one go. When we do single pin picking, we are lifting them up to that level one at a time to get them set. And now what we're going to do when we're front shimming is we're going to use the shim, which is just a sort of flat piece of metal. We're going to push it through the front of the lock, and as we push it towards the back of the lock, we're going to lift up each of these pins, and when they're at the right height, that one just there, the shim will be able to move forward one position, and then we'll raise the next one up and it can move forward another position, and the one we've just lifted up, of course, is already in the right position, and that shim slowly works its way towards the back of the lock. And when we have got the shim between all of those pin stacks, there's nothing stopping that core from turning anymore, so we just put our turning tool in and turn them around. Now this doesn't work with all locks. It wouldn't work with this lock. As you can see, if I try and get my shim and slide it between that gap there, it doesn't come out the other side because there's a sort of step on the outside of this, and that step stops the shim going through. But of course, certain locks out there don't have this, and this is one of them. So we've just got a cheap padlock here. Works pretty good, and maybe someone in the past used this to rely on locking up their valuables. So let's see if we can get this done in a reasonable time. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that shim in just there. I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on the top of the shim, and I'm going to lift up the first pin stack, and as I lift it to just the right point, that shim hopefully can slide forward. Now this is easier said than done, and it can take a few attempts to get it done. Hopefully I can show you it in a reasonable amount of time. Where's that gap? I think that pin's quite high, that's what it is. I just felt that go down, so I'm going to move on to the next pin now. I'll lift the next pin up. I'm just pushing down on that shim, and there you go, he's gone down again. So now I'll lift up the next pin, and he went down again. Next pin. They went down again. And it will do is the last pin now. That could well be the back of the lock. So just one by one, I lifted up each of those pins, and with pressure on the front of that shim was able to slide all the way down. I think it's now at the back of the lock. So essentially this padlock is open now. So if I put my turning tool in there and just turn it like it's a key, just that easy, we got this one open. And while that shim's in there, of course, there's nothing to stop you doing that as many times as you like, because that shim obviously is keeping those pin stacks apart. So this lock is permanently open. Now if that shim is still in the right place, you could use anything. I could use that pick. You can use anything at all to turn the core. But yeah, if you've got a cheap padlock, one of these shims, and a minute or two's time, yeah, they can be opened quite easily. No need to use a key, no need to use a pick, just front shim them open. Anyway, thanks for watching, hope that was interesting, and I'll see you on the next one.